Alright, welcome ladies and gentlemen, we're here today as requested for an updated Aphrodite build. But first I want to go through her abilities that kind of matter into building Aphrodite for the newer players to Smite and or to Aphrodite. So let's open up the abilities menu. Many of us have probably forgotten that Aphrodite actually has a passive, believe it or not. The passive is not really important except for certain game modes like Assault, where mana regeneration is huge, and maybe possibly Siege. So her passive, 30% of all mana regenerated by Aphrodite is granted to her soulmate. What the soulmate is whoever you hook up with your kiss. So that is pretty much your soulmate. Now, Aphrodite can only heal one person at a time, other than yourself, of course. So that pretty much means you have to have you probably want to go for max cooldown reduction, which is 40%. That way you can switch between targets that you want to heal. You can only heal whoever you have linked up and whoever is your soulmate with your kiss. And you can see here the cooldowns, especially in the early stages of the game with no cooldown reduction items, are pretty lengthy. Of course, they do go down over time, but still, regardless, you have to keep switching between targets because you can only heal one other person at a time. Nothing else kind of matters here. A point that I did want to make about her lovebirds is that it's a damage over time effect, or damage per tick, whatever you want to call it, and that means you can easily apply on-hit effects like the Spear of Magus that applies 2 stacks of penetration, and also the Gem of Isolation, which you can use that to stack up the slow effect, which we can get into those a little bit later. So if you're going to be playing Aphrodite in Conquest, you can play her in a variety of roles. You can play her as support in the dual lane, or most probably commonly known in the solo lane. So if you're just laning and you're not supporting, you probably want to go with the Vampiric Shroud for the huge sustain on the starter item. Starter items in Conquest are almost pretty much mandatory. Other game modes, not so much. If support, I don't really want to go into support Aphrodite, that's not too common. Support Aphrodite, probably Watcher's Gift, I would imagine, for the, just go for that support type starter item. This helps you out with your gold and things like that. But let's not get into that right now. So let's go with the Vampiric Shroud. Next for Conquest, typically right out of the gate you go with a starter item and a tier 1 item. The tier 1 item of choice will definitely be the Lost Artifact, giving you that +5 MP5 to give you more sustain while in the laning phase, and then you pretty much build that into the Chronos Pennant later on. Or, if you're in the solo lane and you're going against, like, let's say Shock or Hercules, something like that, you can sell that and you can go into the Breastplate of Valor. You can go with this route if you're laning against a warrior or an assassin in the solo lane. You can probably go with something like this, because if not, you're going to be taking a lot of physical damage. Or you can go the route of the Lifesteal Tree, which the tier 1 is called the Tiny Trinket, and you kind of build this up into Divine Ruin to shut down any healers on the enemy team, or high health regeneration gods for that matter. But let's just stick with the Lost Artifact. Then you go into your boots here. The Shoes of Focus, like we talked about earlier, you probably want to get the max cooldown reduction as you can, so you can switch between targets. If you're not really worried about that and you're more of damage, then obviously go to the Shoes of Magi, but let's just stick with the Shoes of Focus. After you pick your boots, if you're choosing, you definitely go back and pick up your Chronos Pennant so you can get the full cooldown reduction. And now we can easily switch between targets and who you want to kiss, and just kind of heal up and use your ultimate on them, things like that. After this point, like let's say in Conquest, I know these aren't really too popular nowadays, but if you wanted to, you can go into a stacking item at this point, like the Warlock Sash, so you can get a lot of HP, build overall a little bit more tankier. Or if you don't want to go into that stacking item, the other option is the Book of Thoth, which I feel like you get more magical power right off the bat because it's 3% of your total magical power right away into additional damage. If you don't want to go into that, this will be your time to go into other optional items like the Lotus Crown. Now, Lotus Crown, in my opinion, you don't get the best use out of it compared to other healers, because other healers, you can heal everybody around you. Aphrodite's just one person, so you don't get the maximum usage of the Lotus Crown, but it's still a decent item to have, especially for Assault, because that MP5 is huge on your passive. And also, this is great for just linking up to your tank or something like that who is initiating, so you can give them that extra 20 protections for both physical and magical. And also Siege, because Siege, it's 2v2 in a single lane, also ground to pick up. or you can go into the Rod of Asclepius, just to improve your healing overall. So you have a lot of options here. If you're not really into being that supportive role of just healing your allies, you can go into a damaging item like the Spear of Magus. This is definitely, you get a lot more use out of the Spear of Magus, I feel, than the Obsidian Shard, because Flat Pen is always great against targets that are not building any magical protection, and you can easily apply these 2 stacks of penetration through your 3 lovebirds. And if you also have other magical gods in your team, they can benefit from the debuff of the Spear of Magus on the enemy target. Now, of course, if you're fighting multiple tanks that are building magical protections, then yeah, Obsidian Shard would be better because the percentage takes more of the enemy magical protections away. So a lot of things into building, but let's just stick, let's just stick with something like this. Now, the Rod Tahuti, definitely a must-have. Like, getting the most out of the healing is not all about the Rod of Asclepius or the Lotus Crown. The healing also improves based upon your total magical power, which the Rod Tahuti is definitely the most magical power you can ever get. Outside of like stacking items, things like that. So, and then, you know, the starter items, you can always sell your starter items any time of the, probably like after mid game, you can definitely sell that to get the extra gold, and you can buy something else. And then you just kind of goes into like whatever you want your last final item to be here, whether it's a defensive item like Magi's, or hide in the median line, mid guardian, whatever, or just more power, or you can go into items like the Gem of Isolation. You can easily slow people between your 2 and your 3. That way your allies can help chase them down, or you can chase them down. If you're fighting against tanky targets, the Soul Reaver is definitely a must-have if you're fighting multiple gods that are building HP items. This 15% is huge, and it's a huge chunk, especially when you hit them with your 2, which is a huge burst on top of the Soul Reaver proc. It is massive damage. So outside of Conquest, it's pretty much the same items, just different order. With Assault, you probably want to go with the Chronos Pendant as your first item because the whole MP5 cooldown reduction gives you everything you want in Assault. Then go to your boots and to the rest of your items. Conquest, normally you just start with boots, and then this will be your point. Do you want to go with the Breastplate of Valor if the enemy team is mostly composed of physical gods, assassins, ADCs, things like that? You probably want to go into something like this. If you're not really worried about the enemy physical gods, then you can just go into something like, Chronos Pendant, and then you go into your supportive items that you want to, and then you can go straight into Rod Tahuti because the match is probably going to end soon, because arena doesn't really last too long, and then you can go to penetration afterwards. It just kind of, you can mix and match on your playstyle pretty much. Now going into actives real quickly. The Heavenly Agility is a really great supportive active to have. Being able to make all allies around you immune to slows and also increase their movement speed is huge, and also increases healing done by you and others, and health regeneration as well. So that's a really great active to pick up. Of course, on the topic of Assault, definitely Salvation, being able to raise your HP and your other allies' HP and mana, things like that, really great active to have. On the topic of solo lane, I know the whole teleport tree is pretty commonly used for the solo. Not so much the teleport gods. We should not even be talking about that, but just really the teleport so you can get back to your tower in the solo lane pretty quickly. So that pretty much wraps it up for the build video for Aphrodite. If you have any other questions, leave it down in the comment section below. If you want to see any more super builds, I do have a huge playlist of over 200 episodes that you can go check out. Make sure you keep scrolling down, hit load more, because there's tons of them. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.